bombarding us, Nostradamus us, mentally disarming us. Safe in the metaverse, energy farming us. And these cunts you trust, no currency with me, they're gone bust. Flimsy lies, all top and no crust.
Thank you for joining. It is 3/18/2022. You're listening to The End Is Always Nigh from Inversions. I'll put a link in the chat. Okay, so thank you for joining for what is going to be actually part one of a multi-part series on Marilyn Manson, in particular this psyop having to do with his public unraveling, this monster being unearthed here live in front of everybody. With this allegation that just came out today, it gets even more intense because it's being suggested that he actually raped Evan Rachel Wood on the set of Heart-Shaped Glasses, and there's a petition to pull it. It almost has 33 million views. There's a petition to pull the video. Now, this was revealed on Phoenix Rising, the documentary I've been discussing about Evan Wood. And I've been talking about it because I noticed the curious parallel between Dolores in Westworld and Evan Wood in Marilyn Manson's world. And there's a lot of symbolic connections between the two. There's parallels in the stories. And I've extrapolated something here about her archetype being Persephone, Virgo personified. And I found a clue here that suggests that I'm 100% on target with this thing. So the title of this live stream is Manson Heart-Shaped Glasses Kubrick Psyop, Part 1. Kubrick, because the video Heart-Shaped Glasses is based on a Kubrick-directed film, Lolita. So we'll get into all of this stuff. Let me go through some comments. Joined by Rocco Calzone, Dang, Frank, Jenna Lovecraft Reads, Penguinati's Invelis, Worst Nightmare. Yeah, awesome music. That was a track submitted to me by this for Infinite Plane Radio by Michael Keever. He also sent us another track from Red to Green about the environmentalist, communist, watermelon Marxist takeover. Joined by Chalk Body, Linda Curtis, Thirst for Truth, We, Deadbeat Daddy, Minneapolis. Yeah, I've been here, I've been working. I haven't missed anything, but I haven't been able to get in front of my computer. I'm working on a very important project, which I think you're all going to appreciate. Metascript Decodes, a series of 10-minute videos that break down segment by segment, puzzle piece by puzzle piece, node by node, all these mind maps in exquisite, concise detail, but it's going to be put into these 10-minute segments or less. Like, I'm not trying to reach short, destroyed, attention span, TikTok minds, but I am reaching out into TikTok. I am reaching out into Twitter because I know that the people who are looking for real substance are there as well. Let's see here. And look, I'll be available later to take phone calls on this topic, but I want to go through all of this first. Cincinnati tuned in as always. And yeah, so we'll get into all the details about where the channel's going, what we're doing. We're just going up for the most part. We've been expanding laterally, but we're improving our research community. Our meme pool is growing. There's a crack in the dam and it's going to break. Okay, so let's get into the main theme for right now, part 1, and then part 2, I will actually take phone calls. And, maybe later today we'll get totally off topic, but I want to stay focused on the Manson Heart-Shaped Glasses Kubrick Psyop. I've been following this thing very closely ever since last August of 2021, when Marilyn Manson shows up with Kanye and DaBaby at Donday 1. Now, the Donday event is extremely significant. One, it took place on the anniversary date of the 33 Burning Man festivals, and Kanye set himself on fire like a Burning Man. But two, the second installment, the second release, Donday 2, produced by Future, who goes by Pluto, was released on 2/22 of this year, the day of Pluto return. And this all ties in to everything else here when you learn that Pluto is Hades. Hades is the one who creates and releases the Kraken. Now, this connects to Gabby Petito and Brain Laundry, the kidnapping of Gabby Petito, Virgo personified, Persephone taken into the underworld at the equinox, and that's when they found her body. And I pointed this out then. There's a story here. We're looking at Virgo personified being taken into the underworld. Well, now, with the emergence of Evan Wood exiting the underworld, that's what we're seeing. This is a continuation of the same storyline. And this thing is so scripted. And I was saying this in Discord today. If 99 out of 100 facets of the story are scripted, it's all scripted. So I don't think we're looking at real crime scenes here. And also note this. I've been talking about how the 1968 and 2020 news cycles were basically mirrors. And the same followed for 1969 and 2021 with the space race, the Manson killings, ARPANET mirrored with the Internet of Things. I mean, so many things, but they're paralleling. So I've been following this, and as you would expect, right now, as we are in 2022, this is after the 1969 Summer of Love turned Summer of Hate with the Manson killings. This would be about the time you would expect the Manson victims / brainwashees to be examined, and that's what this whole documentary is about. There's a parallel between Marilyn Manson and his victims all getting together and the Charles Manson, Charlie's Angels. So we're seeing Charlie's Angels again. This Charles Manson, Marilyn Manson thing is part of an ongoing script, as you'll see. So let's go into this. This is where it gets really interesting to me. So there's a music video called Coma White. And this is a video in which Marilyn Manson portrays himself as John F. Kennedy. Here's a description of it. And there's a couple of other things. One, it was delayed. The release was delayed because it was so close to the death of John F. Kennedy Jr. So he plays the role of JFK. He gets symbolically killed. Here's a description of it. The music video for Coma White was directed by Samuel Bayer, shot in Los Angeles. It was inspired by a film that Manson had written entitled Hollywood. He said that the unproduced script featured, and this is where I'm telling you, I'm convinced this guy, Marilyn Manson, has to be an insider on this bigger meta script. Quote, this is the idea that there were two previous Christs. There was Jesus and JFK. And the whole idea on Hollywood was that they're waiting for their third and final savior. So Marilyn Manson is saying here that JFK, just like the QAnoners believe, was the second coming, the second Christ. And they're waiting on the third one, who would be JFK Jr. And this is what Manson says, quote, and that's what the president says he's going to be. It's going to be President White. Manson told his fans it's the most disturbing and beautiful video he had ever done. So again, just to recap, Manson's own script about the music video Coma White is about JFK as Christ having been killed, and it's a big tragedy, and now they're waiting for his son, or for a third Christ, another savior. So this is, to me, straight out of QAnon teachings, where they believe that JFK Jr. is coming back from the dead. Now here's some more. He says, quote, little did I know that the accidental death of JFK Jr. would soon follow. The video recreates the assassination of John F. Kennedy with Manson as Kennedy and Rose McGowan as Jacqueline Kennedy. Her name Rose is very significant in this play, by the way. And she's also connected to the Me Too thing and the Kavanaugh Blasey Ford thing. All of these people are very questionable. Okay, so it has Manson on a cross, and he explained he did this. He says, basically, yeah, Manson conflated Kennedy with Jesus, but yeah, we're waiting on a new savior. It was on his own idea, his own script. This is literally the meta script that JFK and the whole QAnon movement is based upon. Okay, so I wanted to start with that. Now I want to also point out a couple of other things. So we've been talking about Evan Wood and her documentary Phoenix Rising, and this is where she exposes Marilyn Manson as this abuser. Well, what I pointed out from the beginning is that I watched her in Westworld, where she plays Dolores. Now, Dolores she wears like a blue dress, and that's significant. Dolores is very much like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Oz is the controlling demiurge archetype. In Westworld, that would be the Man in Black, same Saturnian archetype. And Marilyn Manson represents that same character. Interestingly enough, in Westworld, the Man in Black is played by Ed Harris, who is the demiurge controller over Truman in The Truman Show. Same story. You're talking about an AI or a false person becoming a true person. Westworld is about the AI's awakening to the cycles of abuse under the Saturnian matrix and breaking free. So now, part one, Don't Fall, is 1 hour, 13 minutes. 113, and if you follow this channel, and I'm doing a Metascript decode on this number, you'll see it is very much associated with this idea of the Phoenix and rebuilding. That's why the One World Trade Tower that opened upon the ashes of the Twin Towers rose up and was opened on 11/3, November the 3rd, 13 years after the towers burned. Okay, let us continue. So Brian Warner is his real name, Marilyn Manson. I think this is all interesting because Brian Laundrie kidnapped Gabby Petito. And this is, again, I think this is a story about the kidnapping. Now, this is where it gets, I think, very scripted as well. She describes, now I'm looking at this very skeptically, just so you know. So when I'm watching this documentary, I'm very aware of the fact that we're probably watching a movie being presented as real. And that shouldn't be a stretch if you're familiar with psyops. But these other psyops that are more emotional than just pure violent or spectacle are far more subtle. So she's at a party. She's 18. She's on a balcony. And he walks up behind her and he says into her ear, "Don't fall." And that's why the 1 hour and 13-minute documentary is called Don't Fall. She's near a balcony. This is all very significant, as you'll see, because these are code words. So blue dress, very significant. We'll get into this. So Pluto, Hades, Lord of the Underworld, all of this stuff is going to come into play here shortly. Now I want to show you some lyrics, because this is where I'm finding that this is getting to be beyond any shadow of a doubt highly scripted. So here Wood claims Warner threatened her if she were to speak out against him, and he apparently threatened her father. He said he would start with my dad. So anyway, she was being intimidated into not speaking out against him because of his threats against her father. In Westworld, you'll see the Man in Black is constantly killing her father every day, in front of her often. It's terrorizing her. So her father is a point that's used to control her in Westworld. Repeated theme. Yeah, we'll do calls later, everyone, if you're in the chat. I'm following everything. And also, I want to point out the blue dress symbol. It's the blue Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz has a blue dress. Dolores in Westworld has a blue dress. The blue dress, I think, is a reference to the High Priestess, as we'll get it in the tarot cards. The High Priestess, in a sequence, it's got Magician, High Priestess, and Empress, and those all tie into this. Because these tarot cards are all very much a part of this bigger script. It's part of the elite's hidden language. So now I want to point this part out. This is where I'm thinking it's getting more and more what I would call meta-scripted. So just today, the news comes out that this video heart-shaped glasses is going to be pulled. Well, the video heart-shaped glasses, let's get into this first, is based on a Kubrick Lolita. So here you have your Kubrick connection. The video for heart-shaped glasses was released on 11/22/2009. So there's another connection right there with Kubrick. 11/22, JFK assassination, in all likelihood directed by Kubrick. Now that video came out in 2009, and it depicts Evan as Lolita, and it is alleged now that on the set she was coerced into a commercial sex act on camera. And he had hinted at the time that this was that it might have been real. They were alluding to it being real. It was almost like they were trying to create a scandal. So here's the video, Marilyn Manson heart-shaped glasses, almost 33 million views, and is released on an 11/22. Just pointing out these key dates, because these things are all chosen. It's probably not a coincidence. It's almost hitting 33. Now, 3 years later, this is 3 years later. So let me show you a clip first from heart-shaped glasses. Not much to the video. For the most part, it's Manson and his goth buddies as rock stars at a party or whatever, and then he has sex with her on a stage, more or less, and then they're covered in blood. Now, here's a couple of things. When he met her, he had only known her from, he recognized her from the movie 13. So she's played this character. She's played this Lolita character, this 13-year-old, and older people being involved. She's being fetishized for being young or whatever. You know, just your typical Hollywood trash. So she's playing Lolita in this video. Well, one of the things you learn in the documentary is that she was a, quote, she was pretty much a virgin when she met Marilyn Manson. Significant here, because virgin is Virgo. Virgo is Persephone. So she plays a 13-year-old. Again, 13, that number is a goddess number, also associated with Virgo or virgin. So here you have Marilyn Manson, heart-shaped glasses, 11/22/2009, and it's a Kubrick-themed music video, again based on Lolita. So you could kind of take from this here a few things, but the main thing is this: she's alleged that this is a rape. Well, 3 years later, he puts out a video called "Overneath the Path of Misery." Now, I just came across this today, because I had already made the connection, just symbolically, that what we're looking at is Persephone in that Lolita video. That character Evan Wood is Persephone on the world stage. Not on the, I didn't know on the video she would fit that. So I'm going to play 30 seconds or less, maybe 10 seconds or less, of a clip from a song, "Overneath the Path of Misery." This came out 3 years after Heart-Shaped Glasses, and he says, "Rape of Persephone was choreographed. Rape of Persephone was choreographed by all the wrong Greeks. Rape of Persephone was a marketing scheme. The rape of Persephone was a marketing scheme. And now the very next second in this video happens to flash. It says rape Persephone. And as he chants Persephone, it flashes back to the video they're trying to ban right now, Heart-Shaped Glasses. So within this video, "Overneath the Path of Misery," 3 years later, he actually references that very clip that is in question here. So this to me suggests that these two videos are connected, the story's connected, and he's calling her Persephone here. And this ties in, again, to the Persephone being kidnapped by Hades and Marilyn Manson hanging out at the Pluto Returns / Hades Returns event on the night that she releases Phoenix Rising. So anyway, I even would take from this video at the end, they have a mutual suicide, like a little pact, that this is some kind of a plot between the two of them. I don't think that her documentary is a real account of a monster. I think this is a movie mirroring reality. Let me go through some comments. Linda Curtis says, people were arguing over a blue dress a few years back also. Oh, that's right. That's right. Good call there. And we're talking about really contrived events, but this is 100% psyop-y, as you'll see. All right, again, I'll be taking calls on this later. I want to go through all of this. But again, the whole thing is the rape of Persephone being a marketing scheme is a separate song, a separate album, but it references the video they're pulling now, specifically connecting her to Persephone. Persephone. So where is this? What does this all lead to? What is this exactly saying? Well, it's called the Phoenix Act. Her documentary is bringing out this agenda. It's called the Phoenix Act. And I think act might even be a term used advisedly here. It's all an act. It says, in the 2007 video Heart-Shaped Glasses, off Manson's sixth album, the poster from Lolita, Stanley Kubrick's 1962 film. So anyway, my point is this. I'm thinking that this Kubrick thing is key. As I pointed out with the, and I'll go more into detail about that video later, about the Coma White video where he portrays himself as JFK Christ. This is definitely part of a bigger story, and the story is this. The Phoenix Act is about all of the victims of this man getting together and rising up, and I think it's called Stand Up is part 2, and I watched that today. So it's about organizing. Well, in West, and this is Marilyn Manson's world, you know, so we've been talking about Kanye West's world burning, and now we have Marilyn Manson's world burning, and inverted WW, these ambigrams are very prevalent throughout this entire psyop. So that's why it's significant that he was there for the Pluto return thing. Now, the significance, though, is in Westworld, Dolores creates the same situation where she wakes up to her abuser and she creates something of a revolution. She becomes something of a villain, but she causes others to wake up and they rebel against the man in black. The guy's name in the movie is William. But anyway, my point being, Dolores in Westworld is quite literally the same character as Evan Wood in real life, with the man in black in Westworld being replaced with Marilyn Manson. And so this event with her being Persephone and the heart-shaped glasses also ties in to the idea of being captive. And when he said don't fall, well, what does that mean? So Gabby Petito's body is found on the equinox as we go into the fall. Because what happens is Persephone goes to Hades in the fall. So she's basically, it's about, the solar myth. So the spring and summer is when Persephone is in the care of her mother. But then in the fall, she goes into the care of Hades. It says Hades fell in love with Persephone and decided to kidnap her. So what I'm suggesting here is that when he said don't fall, that's just scripting. As in Persephone, don't fall, meaning she's going to hell, and she did. Going to Hades, going under his control, and then she gets released with this Pluto return thing. All right, let me check a couple comments here. Mom with Son says, yay, who didn't miss Tim? Yes, we're going to be going deep into this and other things, and we're not going to be missing many more days here in the future. I also want to take a moment and say thanks to everyone who's been keeping this channel alive. We've had a number. It's like it's a work in progress, and there's a lot of things that are improving as we go. And so occasionally we miss a couple of days, but I don't miss any of the research, and we're always active in the Discord server. I also want to point this out. Some more connections here. Interesting connections. Evan Wood was 33 when she releases this Phoenix Rising. And she releases it on Dawn Day 2's release date. Dawn Day 1 had Kanye as a Phoenix. Now, these are really important things in terms of understanding the bigger picture. Here's another one. She released part 2, and I just watched it, on 3/15, on the Ides of March. So the Ides of March, as you know, this date was probably made most famous by Shakespeare, but there's something ominous about it. Shakespeare's play, Julius Caesar, where he's told by the soothsayer, beware the Ides of March. So the interesting thing here is Evan Wood's movie, or the movie she was working on when she left Marilyn Manson, like the movie she used as an excuse to get away from him was called Ides of March. And Ides of March is also a phrase, I think they use it to mean your debts are now due. There's something about that. So there's some kind of payback, I believe. There's something in here corresponding to it, but the timing of it, very, very significant. That she chose this date to release that. No coincidence. Let's see what else I have here in my notes. I have a whole notebook here, but like I said, this is part 1. Okay, so we've talked about her being personified, and also the brainwashing element we'll have to get into a bit more as well. The brainwashing, and because this summer we were talking about what is the meaning of this Gabby Petito, this personification of Virgo being brainwashed in a van, being taken and then killed somewhere. We're talking about, well, we said brainwashed because the guy's name, Brian Laundrie. Well, Manson's name is Brian Warner, and the whole thing is about brainwashing. So there may be some more significance in there. I found some other things in the video, in the documentary, suggestive of, let me see if I can find it here. I don't want to go too deep into the allegations themselves. A lot of this stuff is conjecture, but the main thing I want to stick to is the obvious scripting, the templating of 69 and 2021, and it also brings into the conversation Helter Skelter and what that whole thing was about, the actual Charles Manson killings. Deadbeat Dad says, earthquake and small tsunami in Fukushima, did you hear? Fukushima, the other 3/11. From 3/11/2011. Now, the Westworld movie itself, I would suggest that that movie, like Free Guy, it's kind of the same movie. It's about the overthrow of the controlling matrix symbolized by the Man in Black, the Saturnian matrix. And I talked about Free Guy. I did a review on it, which I'll go over again later. But like I said, I wanted to just kind of catch up on a few things. We'll go over all of this stuff again in detail later. I have a lot of other things I want to go through as well that aren't related to this Manson Kubrick psyop, but I wanted to point this out because it's happening now. Now check this out. Another topic. Ukraine President Zelensky's movie Servant of the People is on Netflix, and they're saying it's shockingly prescient. What on Netflix isn't prescient? It's all predictive programming. Listen to how just unaware the Daily Beast is. Rarely has life so startlingly imitated art, since Zelensky is himself a comedian who rose to the highest position in his country via an unlikely path that mirrored the very program that brought him fame in the first place. So we're talking about how he went from a TV, this movie Servant of the People, to a real life. Basically, this is a fantasy becoming reality. It's completely absurd. And they're saying it's shockingly prescient and it's rare. What do you mean it's rare? This is the standard operating procedure, and this is just evidence and really validation for those of us who are looking at things from this meta-scripted perspective. This is meta-script in plain sight. Look, this is intense. I'm replete with the fact that Zelensky's political party was named after Servant of the People. And this is all of this stuff. So, again, these aren't coincidences. These aren't at all. These aren't coincidental things that just like life imitating art. No way. And people get away with that excuse. But at this point, you'd really have to be a I guess a coincidence theorist to explain a lot of this stuff away. Okay, so let's see if there's anything else before I go here. We'll be back later to take calls. Like I said, I just wanted to touch base. I want to say thanks to everyone who helped bring this channel back. I had to pay for Restream. There's quite a lot here about the relationship between Manson and Evan Wood as they relate to the priestess and the magician in the tarot. Let me bring this up really quick here as well. So Evan Wood plays Dolores in Westworld. Dolores is the name of the girl in Kubrick's Lolita. Both of them are now again in Westworld and in real life. They're both victimized by the Man in Black. Then there's the Dorothy connection to the Wizard of Oz, and then here's another connection. In Eyes Wide Shut, you have the Under the Rainbow costume shop, and then you have a Kubrick link there, obviously, because Kubrick directed it. So again, another reference to Oz, the Controller, Dorothy, Dolores, and then also when Manson and Evan Wood met up, they were collaborating on an Alice in Wonderland themed script. Eyes Wide Shut, Nicole Kidman is Alice. So you'll see a lot of Alice in Wonderland and Wizard of Oz connections. Okay, we've also made this connection just to reiterate really quick here if you missed it. Marilyn Manson's unproduced script for Coma White was premised on this idea, quote, there were two previous Christs. There was Jesus and there was JFK. And Hollywood, the whole concept is, quote, they're waiting for their third and final savior, and the president's going to be President White. Now, he talks about white not being as in race, but as in an amalgamation of all colors, or all races, etc., Coma White. And I looked into this concept, and I found a few other interesting things about it, even tying into, well, the whole QAnon thing, of course, but with JFK Jr. and the fact that they had to delay the release of the video for Coma White because of JFK's death. As though these things weren't coordinated and timed to occur at the same time. Little did I know the death of JFK Jr. would follow. Right. Okay, let's see what else. I found an article here kind of echoed what I was suggesting the other day. Kanye West channeling O.J. Simpson. Fans worry as rapper rants about Pete Davidson. So we're going to follow that. We're keeping up with the Kardashians. Amazon moved 1,800 employees out of downtown Seattle. Makes me think they're probably going to nuke Seattle or fake nuke it, so they're getting the set cleared. Oh, let's see. There's a couple of other minor things. I'm not missing any comments though. Like people are sending me little clues here. Here's one. Middleman AD sent this to me. He said, "Look up the Mir Soviet space station that made a fiery entry in 2001." We were talking about mirrors and a mirror lock and the whole month of palindromes. So that's kind of interesting. Kevin Zorbo had tweeted, "Anyone have any new conspiracy theories? My old ones keep coming true." So I sent him this one. How about the one where you were born female? He hasn't responded, but that is a conspiracy theory. Kevin Zorbo, Hercules, born female. So many notes here. There's just so much going on. Kyle Rittenhouse, let me pull this up. This is probably worth bringing up. So Kyle Rittenhouse tweeted that a meme of himself when he broke down crying about how he had to kill the bad guys. Well, he tweeted a meme of himself crying over a gas pump, and it's because of course, Joe Biden burning a hole in his pockets. But he says, "No, it's not lemon heads, it's the hole in my pocket." So it's kind of a rip on LeBron James and Joe Biden at the same time, in addition to being in poor taste. And my question is, okay, so you're going to make a meme mocking your courtroom breakdown, which is mockable, face of tragedy. But my contention is, if this was real and not just a psychological operation, I'm talking about Kenosha in general, Kyle would be enrolled in witness protection. He would not be an alt-right media star. Now, the meme is funny, if you haven't seen it. The meme is funny. It's Kyle crying at the gas pump, directed at LeBron James. It's going to be lambasted by Black Lives Matter, Antifa, and the left as general. It's going to be saying, hey, look, this is a privilege, an unjust legal system that lets an unrepentant, opportunistic spree killer go free. And I want to point this out too. If you don't think this is scripted, Kyle Rittenhouse was born on January the 3rd, 2003. Greta Thunberg, equally annoying to the other side, born January 3rd, 2003. Same birthday. Same, really, it's a two-headed creature we're looking at here. Left and right. And remember, Kyle's Instagram and TikTok handle, Kyle Rittenhouse 33. Does that prove anything? No. But it's part of a broader pattern, and so I would put that into consideration here when you're wondering whether or not you should be on Team Kyle or with us here on Team Real. Speaking of Team Kyle, check this out. Remember the McCloskeys? They came out to defend Kyle, and now they have their own chili powder. Great on dead animals. Get her done. Run up. I guess it's a barbecue thing. Jimbo says, I thought this was live. IPS, when you coming back? Kevin Mooring says, JFK killed on Elm Street. A Nightmare on Elm Street. Fascinating. And of course you had the Jack Ruby kills Oswald. Ruby Slippers, Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Oswald. All right, let me go. I'm going to scroll through my Discord server really quick to see if I've missed anything else here. Again, if you missed it, the video that they're trying to pull down right now is called Heart-Shaped Glasses, which is based on a Kubrick. It's approaching 33 million views. And it's a video in which she is portrayed as Persephone by Manson's own follow-up video 3 years later. And in that video, he says the rape of Persephone was a marketing scheme. Persephone. And he repeats it again and again. So I would just say take out your Occam's razor. What's more likely? That this whole thing is a marketing scheme as appears, scripted as appears, or are we looking at something else here? Is it all just coincidental alignments? But again, if 99 out of 100 things are carefully timed, and everything here is, even the release dates of everything, 2/22, Ides of March, I would posit that it's all questionable. And why? This is another part of it. Why? Why are we having this phenomenon of real life, quote unquote, matching what happens on Netflix? And I had to bring this up this because this isn't some fringe topic. This is the Daily Beast. This is mainstream. Ukraine President Zelensky's servant of the people on Netflix is shockingly prescient. Again, how many times can something be shockingly prescient before you can say it's freaking scripted? It's a story. And we're analyzing the stories here. That's a big part of what we do on this channel is story analysis, story breakdowns, consciously aware of the fact that we're parsing through a bunch of stories and we don't know which one is true unless we can verify it with facts. I mean, it's a matter of, are you going to take for granted that you can trust the TV or not? And I would say you can, but then you can look back at what you used to believe and what you actually know right now, and you'll see why I opt for getting more information before arriving at a conclusion. I put out a newsletter, if you missed it, in defense of outrageous conspiracy theorists, because conspiracy theorists are under attack. The author of that book, Off the Edge, which is garbage anthropology, she's way too condescending, and she didn't do her homework. I can't believe it. I'm looking at this book, Off the Edge, I'm reading it, I'm watching her on C-SPAN, and she's like, oh, of course the Earth is a ball. If somebody's 2 miles away, there's 8 feet of curve, you can't see them. I mean, she needs to get her eyes checked. But she spent years immersed in this thing and she doesn't know the basics. That to me is just lazy. But anyway, this is from the newsletter today. In defense of outrageous conspiracy theorists, one person's outrageous conspiracy theory is another's worldview. There's a great deal of subjectivity in the world today, exacerbated by unmitigated hypermediation. And this is kind of my point here, is that we're dealing with all kinds of beliefs and people are able to come to their own conclusions, and that's what the media fears. So it is especially critical to the media that we don't see through their fake ideological or partisan divides. The MSM's internal bickering is the same drama that keeps alive the illusion of actual contention and competition. There may be real sportsmanship and professional conduct in wrestling, but the outcomes are always contrived. So again, my point is the media is conspiring to keep us from looking behind their shared curtain. And that's kind of been the point the whole time. I mean, the fact that we have the President Zelensky having reliving or living a movie script in front of everybody, like that should wake people up, but it's not. And it should have done the same thing in 2020 when you saw that the whole pandemic was preceded by a lot of Netflix content that just taught you in advance about PPE, about social distancing, about masks, and about how hardworking the nurses in the front lines are, because they're not just twerking on IV poles. So the reason why I think we have to be tolerant of outrageous conspiracy theorists is because it's just too subjective. Who gets to decide who or what is outrageous? Here's from the newsletter. If ridiculousness was the standard of what is and is not tolerable, there would be very few opinions at all, considering how simple it is to construct a straw man mischaracterization of an opponent's views. Ridiculous is entirely subjective. Big cults become religion, and with size becomes this perceived credibility. Mass media is the dominant world religion, and it's the standard of truth, like it or not. And this is really the bottom line here. All mass media accepts the existence of the moon landing, the official story of 9/11. They accept the existence of everything described by the WHO. So whatever side of the political spectrum you're on, if you're on the world stage, you're still in this movie, the mirror world. And this ties in to this bigger picture with these various psyops are running on us, these celebrity psyops, the big war dramas. Why is there a mirror between what's going on in the screen and what's going on in reality? It's part of, I think, and this is, I think, also why there's so much obsession with twins in all of Kubrick's work. Even Twin Towers, 9/11, Kubrick's work. Why the twins? I think it's about the twinning of our reality, the splitting of our minds, the dividing of man rather the corralling of man into this simulation. Getting anybody who's still connected to reality out of it, out of the meatverse into the metaverse. And Westworld is about the metaverse. It's about people in a simulation. You could look at a number of movies, Free Guy, Truman Show, They Live, Westworld, that all have the same kind of theme. But they're all telling the same story. And I think the key here is that the cinema is held up as, and the news media, it's held up to be a mirror. So you watch the news, oh, it's reflecting reality. Marilyn Manson often described his work as being a mirror held up to America, to America's dark side or whatever. And, I never really took it that seriously, but I think, no, this is what they want you to think. The mirror is not, it's a funhouse mirror. It's not the real world. There weren't 17 years of school shootings. Most of the things that they say on TV are fake. I mean, when it comes to these big psyops, we've already broken down a lot of these things. So I think it's fascinating here, though, that we have this mirror and this twin thing being used again and again in all these various events. Even the Dawn Day 2 event. 2, it was a double. It was the second event. It was a mirrored event. It was on the 22nd palindrome week. 22222. What is with that? On that date, you had twin Blackhawks crash in Fork Canyon. Again, Fork. And it all probably ties in some way to this incoming release of the Kraken, whatever that is, whatever Pluto/Hades brings. And Pluto has and this is funny to me, Pluto or Hades has a bident. It's a two-pronged spear, like a trident. He's got a bident. And what's funny to me about this is that Hades releases the Kraken, and he's got a bident. Now we have Joe Biden telling stories about leaving dead dogs on some lady's doorstep. Joe Biden is talking about dog on a doorway. And I'm thinking, maybe it's a reference to this. Joe Biden could be Joe Biden. Maybe this is some kind of reference to Hades and the Pluto return. Because, Biden, and then what has he released? The Kraken. And what has Biden been releasing this whole time? Crack pipes. His son Hunter, crack pipe. So I think all of this stuff with the crack pipe all along has been force memeing this whole thing into our minds. Release the Kraken and crack pipe, all of it, I think has been leading to this, the return of Pluto and what it means. And what has happened since 222? Have we not seen a schism, a crack? Is there not some kind of a Kraken being released? Have we not heard Putin describe the West being taken down from its position of power? The destruction of Westworld. That's what we're looking at. All right, let me go through the comments one more time. And like I said, this is kind of brief right now. It's just been about 45 minutes, but I'm going to be back later on. Linda says, all the world leaders are top salesmen of the marketing scheme. Yes. Yeah, and Dave Hoaxum says, thanks for going live early. The plan is to go live early and evening. Basically mornings and evenings. Calls later in the day. Because I'm usually in Discord anyway, chatting and doing research. So it's not really difficult for me just to hit live. And so we will be doing live stuff. I want to say shout out to Steve. Thanks for the coffee mug. I'll put a picture of it on the screen later on today. Oh, here's another connection to Marilyn Manson worth looking at. Marilyn Manson, Charles Manson, Helter Skelter, that whole thing. So Helter Skelter was about Charles Manson trying to start a race war. He was killing or having people killed, and they were blaming it on Black Panthers. So that's probably going to play into everything else here if you look at the whole black versus white dialectic and all the recent psyops. So Manson brings in that Helter Skelter theme, which we'll be getting into more as well. You look at George Floyd, Derek Chauvin. What did you have? You had Derek Chauvinism, Derek Western Chauvinism versus BLM. And that was a 9/11ing of America. See, when I see 9/11 now, I think it's about a splitting. It's not just about New York on 9/11/2001. There's a lot of psyops that have the same symbols, the same nomenclature. That's why, 8:46 a.m. 9/11 starts. Floyd gets kneeled on for 8:46. These events are all connected, but as you'll see, it's beyond one or two events. It's beyond. Here's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing that this Kubrick connection is showing that there is a mastermind, that all of the major transformative psyops are so integrated that there's some master script, and that's what we're analyzing every day here. I'll have the audio stream turned back on later today as well. Just a heads up, I'll have it on by later on today. Jordan says, maybe chemtrails are reflective metallic aerosol spray that stick to the top of the dome in order to increase the sun's depleting heat. Right. I don't believe that chemtrails are what the chemtrail theorists believe, but I'm not a reality denialist. There is something up there. Is it the result of, I don't know, compressed air engines? Is it some kind of contaminant? Is it weather modification? Or is it nothing? I'm not sure. I'm always investigating it, but I find it very suspect. You know, some of these leaked things. It's like you don't trust the government, but you trust their leaked documents. What makes you think they're not going to leak something they want you to believe? All right, this is the song I referenced earlier, Red to Green by Michael Keever. I'll put a link in the chat. We'll be back tonight to take calls. I'll get the audio stream back on, getting the 24/7 back on. I just had to catch up on a few of our software expenses. Nothing major. Also, by the end of this month, I'm expecting some information, some kind of results, some developments with my legal disputes, ongoing legal disputes with YouTube. And I do believe there'll be some progress there. All right, we'll be back later. Thanks again for joining. This is Red to Green.
Lights change from red to green. Power fiends running eco schemes. We're dirty, they'll make us clean. Accelerating to a dark dream. Earth chilling in the 70s now. Cow farts got it steaming. Tax your breathing, tax your breeding. Beasts keep feeding. Another cult man believing. Bow to Gaia, dirty polluters cast out like pariahs. Evil ways cause wildfires. Technocrats and bankers, helm of the tankers, self-serving wankers saying you own nothing and you'll thank us. Lies on the rise, not the sea or the tide. Keep the profane guilty, the followers blind. Less plastic straws and bags, but a tight control grid future looking mighty sad. Chipped and tagged, Mother Earth lost her rag. Guilt, fear, shame, what they're selling. These commies should be felons. Like Fagin, thieving, end times religion deniers, heathens. Climate always change like the seasons. Carbon trading, pensions fading, looting, raiding, killing, not saving. Green swindle, people on their knees, stacking cheese while felling trees. Tower of Babel built by the block, more riches for black stone and black rock. Burgers and planes causing floods and hurricanes. Leave the heating on your sinning, keep the polar bears swimming. Herd needs thinning, doomsayers winning. Teenage girl to do your bidding. There no it's diluvian, methods Malthusian. Noose won't loosen, ain't about pollution. Fucked in a house of prostitution. False rebellion, part of the machine as lights turn from red to green. Convinced we're all on the same team as lights turn from red to green. Don't live off the fat of the land, the future's lean as lights turn from red to green. Stage set for a bleak scene as lights turn from red to green. False rebellion, part of the machine as lights turn from red to green. Convinced we're all on the same team as lights turn from red to green. Don't live off the fat of the land, the future's lean as lights turn from red to green. Stage set for a bleak scene as lights turn from red to green. Useless eaters sapping energy like leeches. Blind trust in science never ceases. Planets ironed on, no creases. Powerful images deceive us. Attenborough, climate, Jesus. Elitist eugenesis. Aphids got more value than the kids. False rebellion, part of the machine as lights turn from red to green. Convinced we're all on the same team as lights turn from red to green. Don't live off the fat of the land, the future's lean as lights turn from red to green. Stage set for a bleak scene as lights turn from red to green. Holier than now, but it's cronyism, scientism causing schisms. Reality viewed through a distorted prism. Stuck in traffic by design, train shit never on time, keep you static inside. Khan's a cunt, there's no denying. Slap a price tag on nature, select skew the data. Engineer the weather, agenda in a virus, birds of a feather. Energy in the air, ether all around, not just dinosaur juice from the ground. Greenhouse gases from celebs, patronising the plebs. Listen to them preach, bashing my own head. No future of cancer, cut us out like a tumour. Not producers, just consumers. They pollute air and waterways, don't do what they do what they say. Profit and control the essence of planned obsolescence. School but not learning any lessons. Nothing built to last. Dolphins now wearing face masks. Agenda 21, Club of Rome. Antichrist takes the throne. Offer your cans and bottles to the green man. Don't burn in his belly by your own hand. Norbert drives a Prius, so he's Captain Planet. Smugness rife, independence took a dive like a gannet. False rebellion part of the machine as lights turn from red to green. Convinced we're all on the same team as lights turn from red to green. Don't live off the fat of the land, the future's lean as lights turn from red to green. Stage set for a bleak scene as lights turn from red to green.
You are listening to Infinite Plane Radio. Stick around for live call-in shows. Stay for the music and recent replays. Join us at infiniteplane.live for 24/7 live chat with other listeners.